Okay, so um, we're going to dive into something that on the surface might just seem like, just another DUI story.
Right.
But I think when you start to look at, the specifics of who's involved in the timing, things get
Yeah,
a little more intriguing, right?
for sure.
So um, we're talking about Hayden Haynes,
Yeah.
who is the chief of staff to the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Got it.
And he was arrested for DUI
Okay.
just hours after President Trump gave his first address to Congress since returning to office.
Wow.
Yeah. So the source material that we're looking at today is an article titled Mike Johnson's Aide, Arrested for DUI After Trump Address.
Okay.
So are you ready to unpack this with me a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, the timing alone on this one makes it much more than just a typical DUI,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. And the article kind of details, that Haynes was arrested around 11:40 p.m. on Tuesday night
Okay.
after he backed his car into a Capitol Police vehicle
Oh, wow.
right there at the U.S. Capitol.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and, when you think about, I guess maybe we should kind of back up and think about like the position that Haynes holds.
Right.
Chief of staff to the
Yeah.
Speaker of the House,
Yeah.
a very crucial role.
Yeah.
They're really the Speaker's right hand, involved in every major decision, privy to really confidential information.
Right.
And, they're constantly having to navigate that very complex world of politics.
Right. And the article doesn't really get into, what Haynes was doing in the hours leading up to this arrest.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts on, what a chief of staff's schedule might look like on such, a pivotal day?
Well, I mean, a day like that is going to be absolutely packed,
Yeah.
coordinating with the Seekers team, attending any events that are related to the president's address.
Right.
Maybe even, doing some last-minute strategizing media appearances.
Right.
I mean, it's a really high-pressure, high-stakes environment.
And especially, given the current political climate surrounding Trump's return to office.
Yeah.
So you can imagine.
Right. And the article also mentions that, Johnson's office confirmed the incident,
Okay.
but stated that they have, quote, full faith and confidence in Haynes.
Right.
So, I mean, that seems like a very carefully crafted statement.
It does, yeah. On the one hand, it's, they're projecting this image of unwavering support for Haynes.
Right.
But it could also be a very calculated move to try to manage the situation
Right.
before public opinion starts to really turn sour.
Right.
So it will be really interesting to see if, this full faith and confidence actually translates into actual long-term support.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess, let's shift gears a little bit and kind of look at, the legal side of things.
Okay.
What are the typical consequences for, a first-time DUI offender in D.C.?
Well, in D.C., a first-time DUI offense can lead to, some pretty hefty fines, license suspension, and even, mandatory alcohol education programs.
Wow.
Yeah, and the penalties can increase significantly if there was any property damage or if Haynes's blood alcohol content was above a certain limit.
Right.
And of course, there's always the potential for this incident to be used against him in a future political battle.
Right. Yeah. So, even if Johnson does stand by him, I mean, this could still have a ripple effect on his office and, their legislative agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about it. Haynes was likely involved in very sensitive discussions and negotiations,
Right.
related to the president's address and the legislative agenda that it laid out.
Right.
So this incident could weaken his position.
Right.
His influence, make it harder to push Johnson's priorities forward.
Right.
Opposing factions could even seize on this as a sign of weakness or, a lack of judgment within Johnson's team.
Yeah. It really is a fascinating example of how a seemingly personal misstep can have major political repercussions.
Yeah, precisely. And it really highlights the intense scrutiny that comes with positions of power.
Right.
This incident is raising questions about, the potential for alcohol to compromise sensitive information,
Right.
national security.
Wow.
And it also, underscores the fact that even in the highest levels of government,
Right.
personal actions can have very significant professional and political consequences.
Right.
Well,
this has been a very interesting deep dive.
it has.
Yeah. So for those of you listening, think about this in an age where every move is scrutinized.
Right.
And the political landscape is constantly shifting.
Right.
What does this incident tell us about the pressures that are faced by, those working at the heart of government?
Yeah, that's a great question.
And how do personal choices, intertwined with the high-stakes world of politics.
For sure.
We've given you the facts and the context.
Right.
Now it's your turn to dive deeper and form your own conclusions.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.